Rahm Emanuel bragged to the Wall Street Journal last week. If you want to know Obama's character, he told them, all you have to do is to look how quickly he moved from saying he was going to be bipartisan to mocking the Republican Party. It was a source of pride for Rahm. This White House, I mean, you should give to me the fact that those of us that have been vouching for Barack Obama's character since Iowa, which I have, telling Republicans, which I have every day on this show, back off. He's not going to be a left-wing crazy. Back off. He's not like old-style Democrats. He doesn't hate you just because you think differently. I really believe, calling my mother every day, saying he's going to be bipartisan.
But let me ask you the $64,000 question.
I think over the past year of defending Barack Obama's intent, while I get torn to shreds. There was an editorial in my local newspaper a couple of days ago tearing me to shreds, saying I was no longer conservative because I was trying to find middle ground.
You're cozying up with Willie Geist and the other Upper West Side guys.
The thing is, you now come in here and claim that I'm a harsh partisan because I'm disappointed by how he's behaved over the past 3 weeks. History will prove he decided not to be bipartisan.
Slow down, Joe. So you're disappointed. Let me be really clear. You think that Voinovich, you think that Martinez, you think that other so-called middle-of-the-road Republicans, not the three who win, you think they did everything they could to be cooperative and helping the country during a time of crisis?
Yeah. When you have Barack Obama saying he's going to be bipartisan, and then he invites a senator like John Kyle over to the White House, John Kyle proposes a tax cut, and Barack Obama reduces the situation to, quote, I won?
Come on, Joe.
That's a problem.
Come on, Joe.
Is that bipartisanship?
Joe, that's too simplistic. You think that's true?
I think that's true.
You don't think he ultimately increased to nearly 40% the amount of tax cuts in the ultimate
and I'll toss to you in a second, but let me tell you what happened. Because I've really been sorting through this, because I do think that Barack Obama is a man of goodwill. I really do. I think David Axelrod, Robert Gibbs, these are all guys I really like. I think what happened was they got up there and they had to make a decision. Are we going to be bipartisan, or are we going to offend the Speaker of the House, throw her under the bus? Are we going to offend Harry Reid? Are we going to offend our liberal base? And they made the calculation. We're not going to start out the way Jimmy Carter did by offending Tip O'Neill and our entire base. That's why I asked Buchanan yesterday. And this was an olive branch, even though it may not have sounded like it. Would Reagan have offended his conservative base out of the gate? And Reagan said no. He would have brought him over, and if he didn't get what he wanted, he would have rolled them because he'd want human events in Washington Times and everything. So I'm not saying that this isn't business as usual and that Republicans haven't done it. I'm just saying this was not a transformative 3 weeks.
Here's my question for you. If we presume that Obama's intent is solution-driven, relatively pragmatic, all the things that you just described, do you believe...
That's what I used to assume it was.
Wait, but already you say no mas?
No, we'll see what happens.
Do you believe that Pelosi's intent, that Harry Reid's intent, that the Democratic legacy, Democratic leadership in Congress's intent is to try to be pragmatic and solve this country's problems, or is it to exact political power and authority and revenge to their agenda relative to having been out of power? Not Obama.
All right.
I think even if they think that, I think there's no way, and Joe can testify this better than anyone else, that every Democrat in Congress, particularly the senior ones, remembers 1994. And they know that if all they are is bloodthirsty and focused on revenge, they can lose not just one
It's not about the Republicans. I'm asking you about the intent of the Democrats.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the Democrats realize that if they're greedy, if they're stupid, if they're ineffective, if unemployment's north of 10% next year, they will lose.
And Carlos,
both the House and the
let me
Senate.
take you up on that, because 94 is very instructive. Actually, 1993 and the Clinton budget deal is very instructive, where Bill Clinton didn't bring more Republicans over. And what Republicans were asking for were, I think it was $2 in spending cuts for every whatever. There was a ratio. He didn't meet it. All the Republicans voted against it.
And on health care. He should have cut deals that he didn't cut.
He didn't cut in health care. My point with Barack, turn the music down, this is going to take half a second. My point is this, that just like Bill Clinton in 93, just like Hillary Clinton with health care in 94, just like George W. Bush in 2002, it would have served them all much better to tell their base, hey, you know what, back off, I'm President of the United States. George Bush especially. George Bush, if he had been a little more patient, I'd even say 2 or 3 more weeks would have made a historic difference. If he would have pulled more Democrats in, if he would have called Nancy Pelosi and said, Nancy, I need you standing by me in this press conference. What's it going to take? If he had called Ted Kennedy, John Kerry, John Edwards, all these people who said Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, if he had taken them into the White House in the fall of 2002 and said, I need your support in this war. I'm really concerned, and I've got all your quotes here. I know you are too. What's it going to take? And if they had ironed it out over 2-3 weeks, literally, the history of America would have been different.
I'm not going to disagree with you on the George W. one.
And I'm afraid that Barack Obama's done the same thing. He needed to bring Republicans in. And he had the plan. Nancy just told him, no.
I'm going to tell you, Republicans, instead of ultimately taking 2 to 3 weeks to come up with a $400 billion plan, should have right out of the gate said $775 billion is too much, should be $500 billion, and the other piece should be contingent if we need to spend more money. They didn't do that, and as soon as Rush jumped in the middle of it, they scattered, Joe.
Listen, if you think that senators in the United States Senate are scared of Rush Limbaugh,
hey, you know what? I have respect for the man from Missouri. I do.
No,
I do. I have respect
I love
for him.
Rush, but have you ever walked over in the House of Lords? They're not scared of anybody. They think they're the center of the universe. The House members, they're scared of Rush. But those senators just aren't. So you can keep blaming Rush if that makes you feel better and sleep at night.
You know,
but I think you need to look at Nancy Pelosi.
I'm blaming Rush and A-Rod.
The partisans. Oh, well, at least I'm not blamed anymore. All right. Super Mario's coming up next. I enjoyed that.
Hey, why not?
You know, you're wrong, but I really, really enjoyed it.
You're wrong, but I love your tie.
Exactly.
You don't have a tie.
Mario's next. Super Mario's next in sports. And if you miss any part of Morning Joe, you can check us out online, watch interviews, and email your thoughts and suggestions and see pictures of